Why, hello there. This is the Professor D&D here to share with you 10 unique armor pieces for your players. These are going to be things that your players can wear that will do a wide variety of things besides just giving a bonus to AC. To start out, we have the Amulet of Magic Missiles. This allows for 3 free castings a day of the spell Magic Missile. I quite enjoy giving this to any players who specialize in melee, such as barbarians, fighters, and paladins, as it gives them another option for ranged for when they need it. It can be quite helpful and give them a little bit of a flair and a little fun. Next up, we have the Armor of Penitence. This creation starts out with a +3 bonus to your AC, adding onto the plate, giving you a AC of, I believe, 21. And as a reaction, the wearer can activate the armor, which generates a 30-foot radius aura of protection. Now, this aura gives nearby allies a boost to their saving throws equal to the wearer's proficiency. However, there is a catch. At the start of the wearer's turn, they take 66 radiant damage. This damage ignores temporary hit points, resistances, or immunities that the players have, or that the wearer may have. And any enemy that enters the aura takes 66 radiant damage at the start of their turn or upon entering the aura. And you can turn the armor on or off with the reaction at any point without cooldown. Now, this plate is one of my favorite ones. I used it in a campaign, and it allows players to kind of take a risk of being able to get these wonderful benefits that come from the armor, but at the price of their own life. Quite a fun one to have. Next up is the Boots of Hermes. These boots are quite simple as they double the wearer's speed, turning a 30-foot walking speed into 60 feet. These boots are quite interesting on monks. I've seen them used. I've seen them used on rogues, barbarians, wizards. All sorts of classes can use them. But overall, just a fun one to give to your players to kind of spice things around. Next up is the Boots of the Mistwalker. These boots allow you to cast the spell Misty Step. However, there are a few changes to the spell that do need to be noted. Boots have 3 charges and can be used at any point during the day. If you use a single charge, you teleport to a point within range, even if you cannot see it, using the Misty Step spell in any direction. If you end up in an object, you are shunted to the nearest open space, taking 1d10 force damage per 5 feet of additional distance moved. If you use 2 charges, it allows one to double the distance of the spell, therefore going 60 feet instead of 30. And at 3 charges, you may bring a living creature of your size or smaller with you when you teleport up to 30 feet. They appear in an unoccupied space within 5 feet of you. And the boot regains all charges at dawn. Now, this is a fun one that I personally got to use as a player, and it allowed for so many unique and fun uses in which I was able to play around with movement and incorporate it in combat a lot more than I normally would. Next up is the Bracers of the Wild Shifter. Now, these wonderful legendary items requires attunement by a druid. When you wear these bracers, you get a +2 bonus to your armor class. And while wild shaped, all attacks deal an additional 2d8 fire damage, and the wearer gains an additional use of their wild shape. Now, these fun little things allow for druids to have a reason to use their wild shapes in combat more, especially at the later levels when it's harder to justify becoming a bear dealing only, a d8. This gives you an additional fire damage and allows you to therefore be able to use them in ways that you may not have in the past. Next is one of my personal favorites, the Cloak of the Blinker. You gain a +1 bonus to your AC and saving throws while wearing the cloak, and when you take damage, you're immediately teleported 30 feet in a random direction. You roll a d4 to determine the direction you are teleported. On a 1 to the north, on a 2 east, on a 3 south, and on a 4 west. This fun little cloak will make sure that you move out of the way of your current danger, though it always has the chance of putting you in potentially more danger dependent on where it sends you. Next up is the Crown of Necrotic Thorns. This wonderful legendary item requires attunement and increases your intelligence by 2 to a max of 22. You gain resistance to necrotic damage, and then once per day you can target an undead creature of a CR equal to or less than your character level. Make a contested check of your intelligence versus their constitution. On a success, you control the creature for the next 24 hours. On a failure, you deal 15/10 psychic damage to the creature, and this ignores resistances and immunities. You can also cast the Death Ward spell twice without spending a spell slot. You can expend additional spell slots to cast it again, and this resets daily. Now, this wonderful item is great for your edgy characters or your ones who are a little bit more of an evil side. I've seen people use it playing necromancers, playing kind of those sort of classes or characters who want to be a little bit more on the undead side. Next is the Draconic Helm. As an action, the wearer spews forth dragon breath in a 15-foot cone, dealing 5d6 acid, cold, fire, lightning, or poison damage. It can be used up to 5 times a day. At the beginning of the day, the helm recharges 1d4 plus 1 charges. It's the same as the Dragon's Breath spell, which is the inspiration for it. But this helmet allows you to spew forth fire. I quite enjoy giving it to, once again, melee characters, as it allows them another somewhat ranged or variety attack other than just a sword or an axe. It's also really fun for spellcasters in the chance that they decide they want to play a little bit closer up to the action. Next is the Frostmourne Armor. This half plate does require attunement, giving you resistance to cold damage when you wear this armor. And when a target hits you, they must make a Constitution save equal to 8 plus your proficiency modifier plus your Constitution modifier. And if they fail, they have their speed halved until the end of their next turn. Now this is a fun one, as it is good for any sort of player who wants to get up into the action and be kind of that tank forcing the enemy to come at them. Quite fun, quite useful. Next are the Gauntlets of Orn. Now these legendary gauntlets once belonged to Orn of Tiberias, a fearsome freedom fighter who is known to crush mountains with his hands. Well, when wearing these gloves, your strength becomes 30. Punching with these gauntlets does 1d8 bludgeoning damage plus 2d8 force damage. However, when wearing these gauntlets, the user cannot use any other weapon. Now, these gauntlets are one of the first ones I ever created. These are definitely an interesting setup, as it forces the user to use these gauntlets for what they do. It requires attunement, and so you are committing to being this melee gauntlet punching person. But personally, from the times I've used it and seen it used, it's worked out really well, and I've gotten a lot of reports that it's a lot of fun and a lot of useful people, or a lot of, it's been very, pardon me, it's been very useful for those who have used it in their campaigns. And that has been 10 unique items. Hopefully you get the chance to use one of these in one of your campaigns as either a player or a DM. Let me know down in the comments if you happen to use them. Hopefully They're useful. I definitely love hearing back feedback on whether or not they needed to be adjusted or if they turned out perfectly fine. But yeah, thank you very much for watching. As always, have a wonderful day.